Welcome to Consphere, the podcast where we dissect the blueprints of successful tech cultures. From agile methodologies to the human psychology behind innovation, we go beyond the code. In today's episode, we're tackling a fundamental question. What separates a group of talented developers from a truly legendary, high-performing tech team? Get ready for a deep dive into the art and science of team building.
Hey everyone, today we're talking about something that is arguably the single most important factor in any tech company's success or failure, the team.
Absolutely. You can have a billion-dollar idea, but without the right team to execute it, it's just a line of code in a notebook. But what is the right team? For a long time, the assumption was hire the best engineers, get the top computer science grads, the people who can solve obscure algorithm puzzles on a whiteboard. But the landscape has shifted dramatically.
It really has, and we have data to prove it. I think we have to start with Google's famous Project Aristotle. This was a multi-year study where Google analyzed hundreds of its own teams to figure out what made the successful ones tick. And the results were not what anyone expected.
Right. They looked at everything. Did teams with friends socialized outside work perform better? Did teams with similar educational backgrounds? The data was all over the place. There was no single recipe, no magic formula based on who was on the team. The secret sauce was all about how the team functioned.
And the number one factor they identified was psychological safety. How would you define that for our listeners? It's a term we hear a lot, but what does it actually mean in the day-to-day life of a developer?
Great question. Psychological safety is the shared belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. It's the difference between a junior developer spotting a potential flaw in a senior architect's design and thinking, I should say something. We could avoid a huge problem. Versus thinking, if I'm wrong, I'll look like an idiot, and if I'm right, I'll make my boss look bad. Better to stay quiet.
And that silence is incredibly expensive. It leads to bugs, misaligned features, and a culture where people are just going through the motions. So how do you, as a leader, actually build this? It sounds fluffy, but it requires very concrete actions.
It starts at the top. Leaders have to be vulnerable. They have to say, hey team, I made a mistake in the project planning. Here's what I learned. When a leader admits fallibility, it gives everyone else permission to be human. Secondly, you have to actively frame work as a learning process. Instead of saying, build this feature, you say, our hypothesis is that this feature will solve our user's pain point. Let's build a prototype and test the hypothesis. This changes failure from being a personal shortcoming to being a data point.
I love that. It moves the goalpost from being right to learning what's right. But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Is there a risk that too much focus on psychological safety leads to complacency? That without the pressure of being right, performance might actually dip?
That's a fantastic point and a common misconception. Psychological safety isn't about being nice all the time or avoiding hard conversations. In fact, it's the prerequisite for having those hard conversations effectively. It's about creating a context where conflict is about ideas, not people. You can have a fierce debate about the merits of microservices versus a monolith, but it's a debate grounded in mutual respect. A team without psychological safety doesn't debate. It either fights or disengages.
So it's the foundation for healthy conflict, which is essential for innovation. Okay, let's move from the cultural bedrock to the actual hiring process. Once you're committed to building this kind of environment, who do you hire? You're a big proponent of the T-shaped individual. What does that mean?
The T-shaped model is a great way to visualize the ideal team member. The vertical bar of the T represents deep expertise in one or two specific areas. This is your specialist, the person who knows database optimization inside and out, or the guru of your front-end framework.
Right, so that's the technical depth that every team needs.
Exactly. But the horizontal bar is just as crucial. That represents a breadth of knowledge and, more importantly, curiosity about other disciplines. It's the back-end engineer who understands enough about the front end to appreciate the challenges of data fetching. It's the UX designer who understands the business goals behind the user stories. T-shaped people are natural collaborators. They can communicate across specialties because they speak a bit of each other's language.
So you're essentially building a team of connectors rather than a set of isolated silos. The opposite of this and a huge hiring pitfall is what we often call the brilliant jerk. This is the candidate who aces every technical test but has a terrible attitude.
Oh, the brilliant jerk. They are so seductive, especially when you're under pressure to ship. Their code might be beautiful, but their impact on the team is toxic. They erode psychological safety by dismissing others, refusing to collaborate, and creating an atmosphere of fear or competition. The data is clear on this. The productivity gains from one brilliant individual are almost always obliterated by the productivity losses of the team around them. They are a net negative.
It's the classic one bad apple spoils the barrel scenario. And it's a hard lesson for many founders to learn that culture fit, or what I prefer to call value add, is more important than raw technical skill. Another hiring trap is building a team of clones. It feels safe to hire people who went to the same schools, have the same hobbies, and think the same way. But that's an innovation killer.
Absolutely. Homogeneous teams create echo chambers. You get groupthink. A study by McKinsey in 2020 found that companies in the top quartile for ethnic and cultural diversity on their executive teams were 36% more likely to have above average profitability. And for gender diversity, it was 35%. This isn't about corporate social responsibility. It's a straight-up competitive advantage. Diversity of thought, background, and experience is what allows the team to see problems from new angles and come up with breakthrough solutions.
So we've hired this amazing, diverse, T-shaped team and fostered psychological safety. Now, how do we manage them? What's the operating system for this team to actually execute? I think we have to talk about two key principles: clarity and autonomy.
Yes, clarity is about the why. Engineers and designers are not robots to be given tasks. They are creative problem solvers. When they understand the business goal and the user problem they are solving, their work transforms. They stop being order takers and start being owners. They'll suggest a simpler, more elegant solution because they understand the end goal.
So instead of a product manager just handing over a ticket that says, add a blue button here, the conversation is, our data shows users are struggling to find the checkout page. How can we make it more discoverable? That frames the problem and empowers the team to solve it.
Precisely, and that leads directly to autonomy. If you've provided crystal clear clarity on the what and the why, you have to trust the team with the how. Micromanagement is the absolute enemy of motivation and innovation. If you're constantly looking over their shoulders, telling them which library to use or how to structure their code, you've hired implementers, not innovators.
This is where frameworks like OKRs, objectives and key results, are so powerful. The leadership sets the objective, the ambitious, inspirational goal, and the key results, which are the measurable outcomes that define success. But the team itself figures out the initiatives, the specific projects that will achieve those key results. It's the ultimate expression of trust.
And trust is the best manager. But autonomy doesn't mean anarchy. This brings us to the glue that holds it all together: communication. A team that doesn't communicate is just the collection of individuals working in parallel.
And this is where rituals become important, not as bureaucratic box ticking, but as vital pulse points. The daily stand-up isn't for the manager to crack the whip, it's for the team to sync up and identify blockers. But the most important ritual, in my opinion, is the retrospective.
100%. The retro is the engine of continuous improvement. It's a dedicated, blameless time to ask, what went well this sprint? What didn't go so well? What should we start doing, stop doing, or continue doing? If you skip retros, you are doomed to repeat your mistakes. It's how a team learns and grows together.
Let's talk about some of the other pitfalls, the quicksand that can sink even a promising team. One big one is what I call the hero culture.
Yes. Celebrating the individual who burns the midnight oil for 3 days straight to fix a critical bug and save the project. It feels good to reward that effort, but it's a dangerous trap. It rewards poor planning, unsustainable work habits, and teaches the team that the way to get recognition is through last-minute heroics, not consistent, collaborative, high-quality work. It leads directly to burnout.
And burnout is a team killer. Another massive pitfall is technical debt. This is the concept of taking shortcuts now that you'll have to pay back later with interest. Pushing for feature velocity at all costs, always saying, we'll just do a quick and dirty fix and clean it up later, is like taking out a high-interest loan on your code base.
And eventually, the interest payments become so high that all innovation grinds to a halt. The team spends all its time just maintaining a brittle, tangled mess of code. You have to be disciplined. You have to allocate time, sprints dedicated solely to refactoring and paying down technical debt. It's not glamorous, but it's essential for long-term health.
So let's try to synthesize this. We've covered a lot of ground: psychological safety, T-shaped hiring, avoiding brilliant jerks, embracing diversity, providing clarity and autonomy, and fostering communication through rituals like retros.
It sounds like a lot, but it all connects. It's a system. Psychological safety enables healthy conflict and honest retros. T-shaped individuals enable better communication and collaboration. Clarity and autonomy empower the team to act on their collective intelligence. It's a virtuous cycle.
And the payoff is immense. You're not just building a team that can code, you're building a resilient, adaptive, problem-solving organism. This is the team that can pivot when the market changes, that can turn a crisis into an opportunity, and that can truly innovate.
Exactly. The goal isn't to find a team of 10x engineers, it's to build an environment where good engineers can become 10x together. That's the real alchemy. It's about transforming a group of talented individuals into a cohesive force that is unstoppable.
And that's a team that doesn't just build products, it builds the future. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into building A-teams.
Thanks for listening in. Until next time, have a good one.